In this video I want to talk a little bit about the custom functions in the T4i. Custom functions can be a little mysterious, and so I'm just going to do a quick run through of them and demystify them, or hopefully demystify them. So the custom functions are found in the menu system. Let's see if I touch to start over here, and I'm going to use the buttons to navigate through just so my fingers aren't in the way. They're all the way at the end of the wrench page 4, custom functions. So they're pretty much like they say. They allow you to customize certain aspects or functions of the camera, in this case a Canon T4i. So this is custom functions of the Canon T4i. Our first custom function option is to set our exposure level increments, the amount that it changes every time we rotate the dial. We can do 1/3 of stops or half a stop. I'm really not sure why you wouldn't give yourself the ability to do 1/3 stops, and especially when you're shooting with aperture, it really allows you to dial in the aperture you want, and you're not forced to jump over a greater distance. So I leave that. The default is 0, 1/3 stop, and I usually leave that there. Second custom function is the ISO expansion. So this allows you to go up to the higher level. It's called the kind of the boost modes in both still and movie shooting. You know, it really is kind of up to you whether or not you use this one. I have it set to on right now because I've been fooling around. I very rarely shoot at those very highest ISOs. They're practically unusable. If it was a matter of getting the shot as a moment to remember, I certainly would use them. But in general, I stay away from those, so you are fine to have that turned off. Highlight tone priority. When you shoot RAW, this doesn't really matter, and I hope that many of you are shooting RAW or aspiring to, but this does a little bit of in-camera magic. It's not really magic, and that it tries to keep you from blowing out your highlights, and that means your kind of brighter areas of the image. I have mine disabled because I said it doesn't really matter when you shoot RAW, but that's an option there. What happens when you're in lower light and in one of the automatic modes and the AF assist beam firing is turned on? Your flash will pop up and do that strobe light. Really annoying for a couple of reasons. One, it can freak people out. Two, some people, if they're not paying attention, think you've taken the picture and will start to look away. They just got a bunch of flash in their eyes. They expect that the picture is taken, when really it's just helping you focus. And I guess it's really, those are the only two reasons. You can disable it here. You can enable it only when you have an external flash on, and this is another great reason to look into investing in an external flash, because number 3 option here, infrared assist beam only. The external flashes that you put on your camera have an infrared light that can help your camera focus. People can see it, but it is not a bright flashingness in their face. So that's a great way to focus in lower light without blinding people. And especially if you're taking pictures of little kids, you know, I've seen babies cry. It's a feature that makes babies cry. Turn it off. So I keep that disabled, or I, you know, don't let my flash pop up in the other modes. Mirror lockup. So I'm not sure if you're aware, but when your camera takes a picture, a DSLR, there is a mirror inside. Let's see if we can show that. Let's see, is that still in focus there? It's awful dark in there. So there's a mirror right there, and when you take a picture, that mirror flips up, and the light hits the sensor behind it, and the picture is exposed. So that's where most of the noise comes from, and that's where a lot of vibration comes from in the camera. It's not something you need to worry about unless you are taking slower exposure images with a tripod. So these are around half a second to 1 to 2 seconds is where I've read that it has the greatest negative impact on your image. What mirror lockup does when you enable it, is it flips up the mirror and then the next press will do the shutter. So that lets the vibrations get out of the way, and what you should really use this with is the self-timer feature or a remote cable release. And when you do that, it's a 2-second delay. Mirror will flip up, all of the vibrations in the camera die out, then it takes the picture. Again, it has the most effect around the 1/2 second to 2-second mark of a camera. If you're going longer than that, any vibrations are mixed out by the longer exposure, nixed out by the longer exposure. Any shorter than that, and the vibration is not enough to affect the camera. So I leave mine disabled because it's highly annoying when you're trying to take a picture to have to press the shutter twice each time, unless I'm doing those longer exposures. This is our, I don't know what number we're on. We're on 6 here. Custom function, it says 4 there and 6 over there. I'm not sure. So this allows back button focusing. I have a little article on back button focusing. I love it, and I set this one to 0 before I started this video just to show you that is the default. But I really like the, is it 2, I think? And that lets me do the metering with the shutter, but focus is the back button. No, which one did I choose? There we go. So this little button in the back corner here, the asterisk star one, becomes the focus button, and the shutter simply takes the picture and also does the metering, determines what the exposure should be. I'm not going to say a lot more about that because I have an article about it. It's really handy, and it's something I recommend you looking into. You do give up this exposure lock button on this camera when you do that, but that's something that I very rarely use. If you don't ever use it, then you might want to consider back button focusing. And if you do, then there are some other options as well. This allows you to assign the set button to a different task. So right now it's disabled except to select something when you highlight it. And you can set that to bring up the image quality menu, your flash exposure menu, your ISO, although you have that button on the front that does ISO. This is another one of those things that I don't really change too often and leave it that way. What should the LCD display do when you turn the camera on? Turn the LCD on so you can see the back of the camera, or however you had it previously set, so it can remember or it can just come on. I just leave that on default, but that's an option there. And we're back. That's it. So those are your custom functions in a Canon T4i. If you have any questions about any of those, probably the two, if I had to pick two that you should explore the most, is mirror lockup if you're doing longer exposures, and back button focusing through, which one was it? The shutter / AE lock button operations other. So I hope this was helpful. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and I would love it if you headed over to my Facebook page and clicked like so you can stay up to date on all videos and blog posts and giveaways. And I appreciate you watching. Thank you.